Hi there guys, Ken from Miniature Board Gaming Warriors, and today I'm going to be showing you how I paint my English archers for my 100 Years War. I'm going to kind of take a leap from Sir John Mulberry. I'm going to be using his colours mainly, which is a blue and a yellow. This scheme can be applied to any English archers throughout the period. You can use greens, you can use reds, any historical reference. But I'm going to go with Sir John Mulberry, the Duke of Norfolk. So I'm also going to be throwing in some reference from the Harlequin series by Bernard Cornwell, and I'm going to be using this guy. He's the main character in the game, Thomas O'Hookton. So he's going to have a unique black bow, and that's what Thomas has. Thomas didn't fight for the Duke of Mulberry, but I'm going to do him in these colours anyway, because it's my army at the end of the day, and that's how I'm going to do it. So without further ado, let's crack on. You can see I've already done the brown bits on the model, and I've just used snakebite leather from the contrast paint range to paint all the brown, and also just the belt there as well. So the next colour I am going to be using is actually going to be a red, which is going to be Blood Angels red, and that is basically going to go just around the top of the boots there, just to give them a little bit of variety of colour. And yeah, contrast paints work really well for this. So as soon as I've done this, we'll go on to the next step. So the next colour I'm going to be applying is yellow, and this is Nasdrake's yellow from Citadel again, from the contrast range. And basically I'm just going to work it in on the right hand side of his jupon, and also the trousers as well. So once that's complete, I'll be back. Okay, so the next colour I'm going to be using is Ultramarine blue, and this again is from the contrast range. I'm basically going to do the other side of the jupon. You'll notice how I've left just there, there's like a shirt underneath the jupon itself. You can see a little bit at the bottom there. I'm going to go over that with a different colour a bit later. Just trying to be a bit neater now. So it's just going to be on this side of the jupon and also on the back. So let's crack on with that, and I shall see you at the next part. Okay, now, so I mentioned that I would be using a different colour for the undergarment there, so the shirt. So I'm going to go in with another red, but this time it's Flesh Tearers red from the contrast range. I just want to try and be neat here, just to get it on the shirt. And I'll also just go up the top here. So once I've done this, we'll come back and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, that's the red, and so what I'm going to do now is this miniature is actually, if you look on the back here, it's got like a hammer just here, so this needs to be painted in like a wood colour, but I want it to be different obviously to the arrows themselves, so I'm going to paint this in quite a dark wood colour. So for that I'm going to be using Wildwood from Games Workshop. Again, it's a really nice colour, suits wood very well. I also use snakebite leather for this, occasionally for wood, but today, as I've done the boots in snakebite leather, I'm just going to go over with Wildwood here. This is a very dense colour from Games Workshop, so you've got to be really careful when applying this. Right, so the next part I'm going to be adding is the flesh tones, and this part I really do find makes the model pop really nicely. So a good flesh tone can make or break a miniature, and for this I'm going to be using Dark Oak Flesh from Games Workshop, again another contrast paint. So just going to make sure to get all the flesh, and once that's done we shall move on to the next part. Right, okay, so now the next bit is going to be starting the arrows. I'm going to be using for the main shafts themselves, so I'm going to be using Agros Dunes for this. So it's just a case of applying it. You can use Skeleton Horde as well if you want a more bonier coloured arrow, but I'm going to go for a more duney, sandy sort of colour. So I'm going to try that, and I'll see you once I've finished that. Okay, we are really now getting towards completion of this miniature, and the next part is actually going to be Thomas's black bow. So we're going to paint this in, and go from there. So I'll see you once I've finished this. Okay, so there's only a few colours left to paint now. The last contrast paint I'm going to be using is Apothecary White, and I'm just going to basically do the arrow feathers. With white you can use different colours, like I know Royal Arch said like red tip feathers, but for Thomas we're just going to use the standard white. So just make sure we get on there, and make sure to be quite generous with this because it gives it a nice grey little undertone as well. So once that's finished we'll come back to the other colours. Right, okay, so for the next colour we're going to be going over any metallic parts on the miniature, and we're going to be using plate mail metal for this. And this is the first non-contrast paint, and this is from the Army Painter. So we've got things like his helmet here, going to just paint this metallic. You've also got the head of the hammer just there, and also the bow, the arrow tips themselves. So once I finish all this we'll move on to the next bit. So one of the last things I'm doing just before we finish up is I've just got, if you can just see here, the handle on his knife just there. Just going in with Gorgant fur, just to give it a little different colour. So now all I'm going to do is just wait for this to dry. Once it's dry I'm going to give it a nice wash of dark tone from the Army Painter. You could also use Nuln Oil, it does the same effect, but I'm going to use the Army Painter stuff. Give that one complete wash all over, and also the flesh wash from the Army Painter just on the skin, and we'll see what the miniature looks like after that. Right, okay guys, welcome back, and this is him dry with his dark tone wash. I'm happy with how he's turned out. I'm probably going to leave the flesh as it is. I'm not going to bother with a wash. I think the dark tone's kind of done it. But the only thing I will do is, you can see the little buttons there. I'm just going to use like fur brown just to catch them, just to give them like a little look. So I'm going to go down the buttons now, and I shall see you after I've done. So that's how I do my guys for the 100 Years War. The colours that I've used obviously mainly contrast, and they've toned down, but if you want to brighten them up a little bit you can use any blue, doesn't matter which colour, because any sort of blue will work. And same with the yellow, if you want to brighten it up you can do the same. I tend to have some of my guys dark, some of them are light, depending on like Jupon, you know, I've said it in previous videos, not every single fabric was the same. Some were dirty, some were clean. So this guy's going to be a bit darker. So this is Thomas of Hookton. Really happy with how he's turned out. And obviously this is my last archer for my 100 Years War stuff. So I'm going to show you how to base him now. Base, and I'm going to have him aiming that way. So just a little bit of super glue down there. And while that's just adhering quickly, I am going to get the main basing material. Right, so the stuff I'm using is called Patchy Planes. It's done by Geek Gaming. Really good stuff. Really highly recommend it for basing miniatures. So Thomas has already adhered because I'm picking up by him. That's how I know he's good to go. So let's just move this out of the way for the minute. It's nice and straightforward, this. All we're going to do, PVA glue just around on splodges all over. Okay, probably a little bit too much there, but it will have to do. It's not too much of a drama. Right, so all I'm going to do is spread it out, making sure to cover all the put-in bases, because that's what it's there for. Just get around little bits, nook and crannies. You know, it's not too much of a drama if you do cover some of the boots, because, you know, when you're in grass, boots tend to get covered anyway. So just get that around there. Sure not to forget, just inside the pudding bases like that. Obviously the guys, just want to make sure. Obviously I'm going to clean this up afterwards, the area I'm working in, but just make sure you get it across all the pudding bases, and like, there's a little bit there that I want to get. Okay, anything that you've really missed you can go back over with anyway, and you can use tufts, so got that covered. Okay, it's literally a case of dunking it in here like so, making sure it covers alright, and then just turn it upside down, give it a little tap like you do. Okay, you could leave it like that as done, or you could take an extra step and get some tufts down as well, which I will probably do towards the end, but that there is pretty much completed. I could just stick maybe, you know, a couple of flowers down, and again, to do this you can either use super glue or a little bit of PVA. I'm just going to put a tad of PVA there just to show you, and then you got your flower there. That'll dry really nicely as well. And I'll probably just put one more just at the back there. Just like that. Maybe just on the side. Don't worry about if you don't cover all the glue, because it will dry clear. So it's not really a drama. We'll go for a nice big bit just there like that. Okay, right, so that's how I do my 100 Years War. Hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I will see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.